2, 3, let go.
All right, Soccer Senseis. Rodrigo Salazar, aka Young Perez, with my boy over here, Ellis, wearing the John Lennon line from H&M, and our boy Jason Calvo, aka Young Xavi. Special guest, Justin Block, aka Young Gerard.
Young Gerard.
What's up, buddy? How you doing, man? Justin had me on the show, WNYU, last week or 2 weeks ago. It was great. He's from the host of the other football show, works for Complex Magazine. Shouts to Complex. Shouts to Jesus Nice, which will never see the show because it's not about hip hop. And Mero, love you guys. You're mad funny. You'll probably never see this because you're not into soccer. But hey, Justin, tell us about yourself, man.
I'm a huge soccer fan, even though I didn't grow up as one. Like I played baseball growing up, and then in high school, all my friends started playing FIFA, and then I started playing FIFA, and I picked Liverpool because
everybody. Yeah,
I picked Liverpool because Fernando Torres was super fast. They had a few Dutch players, and their uniforms were red. It's like stupid, but I started following them, and that's how I got into soccer, and that's what I've been like loving and trying to write about and follow ever since.
You know, you can pick another club at any point. You know, whenever you want, you can go. There's
I'm already way too deep in it.
There's a program that's for recovering Liverpool addicts, especially after Fernando Torres left. No, we
don't talk about that anymore.
I know you can't change your club. You can't do that.
I'm still not over Suarez, man.
Suarez. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, let's start with that. I mean, what happened with that, man? I mean, once he left, it kind of just went downhill from there.
Yeah, I mean, the entire team was just designed around his movement and his pressing and, his all-around forward play that he does so well at Barcelona now, too. So that when you removed him from the equation and try to replace him with, 10 other guys, and add on to the fact that Liverpool they've had Champions League this year, so they haven't had a lot of time to train and practice and bring the whole squad together. It's kind of been like a Jenga puzzle where you remove one piece and the whole house came crashing down.
Okay, now he's going to the Galaxy, right? Which he may or may not, because look what happened with our friend Lampard.
Steven Gerrard.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be crazy when Steven Gerrard definitely goes to the Galaxy and then gets loaned back to the Premier League next year.
And he stays there.
Yeah, I bet you somehow, in some way, he's going to end up going to Chelsea next year on loan. He's going to get 10 premieres. He'll get 10 appearances, and Mourinho will get him a winner's medal.
Basically, yeah. That's crazy.
That's how Gerrard's going to win his title.
I mean, he just scored twice at the FA Cup, so they still need him. I mean, he's still a good player, but he's come off the bench.
And I mean, he's a good player off the bench. It's just that when you start him and try to play him a full 90, and he can't run anymore. So we don't really have the midfielders to protect him, and Liverpool gets run through in midfield like that. So if he operated more like Lampard, where he comes on the last 10, 20 minutes of the match, arrives late in the box, and uses his expert technique, that's more effective Steven Gerrard than one that has to actually play defense for 90 minutes.
Jason, what do you think about Liverpool this year and what's going on? I mean, you're a huge Barca fan. What do you think of Suarez at Liverpool?
Yeah, how Suarez been doing? He's been assisting a lot, right?
Yeah, he scored a crazy goal for I think it was for Champions League. But how's he doing?
I think he's doing excellent. I think basically he can't play the same position that he was playing at Liverpool, which is like a main striker like he does for Uruguay, because you got Messi,
right,
and you got Neymar. So he's actually fallen into more to me, like a Di Maria kind of thing, where he's really serving up at some amazing passes. But he's so good at using his physical body against other Spanish teams. I watched him just hold down defenses and break open lines to open up spaces for other guys. So I think that's what makes him a great soccer player. He's got some amazing assists in La Liga. Amazing, seriously.
How do you think Steven Gerrard will be remembered, Justin? Let's go back. He did win the Champions League. He did win the FA Cup, 2 League Cups. He debuted in November of 1998 and been at the club since age of 9. Do you think that last year's results had an impact on his decision, as they were so close to winning the title for the first time since 1990?
I mean, I think after last year, Stevie kind of knew that was his one last shot at trying to go for a title. I don't even think he anticipated that he'd get another opportunity to win a title, especially with how Liverpool has been lately. I think he'll probably be remembered and received as, if not the greatest Liverpool player ever, certainly the greatest of the modern era. And I know there've just been so many like new fans that have come to the table ever since the Premier League began and ever since the turn of the century. So with all these new millions of Liverpool fans, like Steven Gerrard is the greatest thing ever to them. Like he's kind of like that generation's Derek Jeter. So not many fans were alive to remember Ian Rush or Kenny Dalglish, but and there isn't that much footage of them either. There's some footage, but every one of Gerrard's goals is on YouTube. So he's the easiest star if you're a Liverpool fan trying to get into it to just get into. So I think he'll end up being remembered as probably the best Liverpool player ever, for my money at least. He never won a title, but he did win the Champions League. He went to the Champions League final again 2 years later, and it was just the loyalty factor for Gerrard is there too. Madrid or Chelsea many times in his career, and he just flat out said, no, I'm staying at Liverpool. Not many players do that anymore.
Shout out to Rotas, who's your co-host. He's somewhere in Westchester doing God knows what. He's a huge Manchester United fan, and I got to hate on him because I'm an Arsenal fan, but he's mad cool. How do you guys get along with that? Like Liverpool, Man United, it's crazy.
It's actually so. Rotas likes telling this story a lot, but the first day I met him, we actually lived on the same floor freshman year in college. And the first day I met him, he came into my room because I was playing FIFA, and I asked him, what fan are you? Like, oh, you like soccer? Like, what's your team? And his friend answered for him. He's like, oh, he's a Manchester United fan. And I called him a motherfucker right on the spot. That was the first thing I ever said to Rotas. And he'll never forget that ever. He's like, oh, okay, this is what college is about. You get here and you get called a motherfucker on the spot. So ever since then, it's actually been cool. I mean, I kind of like having a friend in real life who isn't a Liverpool fan, just because, when you're surrounded by yes men all the time, it doesn't have your head straight. So just to have somebody who's negative Liverpool energy I can feed off of only makes me a stronger and more passionate hater of Manchester United.
The same thing happens between me and him, AC Milan, Inter Milan, and River Plate and Boca Juniors over here. So it's good. It keeps you level. Definitely.
You need the rivalry. You need it.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. Definitely. You don't want to be yesing everybody. So what about what's going on with Lampard and stuff? And do you think the same thing's going to happen with Gerrard? I mean, we were laughing about it before we went on the air, but that's a real debacle right there. It's huge. There's stuff I can't even say about what's going on behind the scenes with NYCFC, but is the same thing going to happen with Stevie? I mean, and why do they come to the U.S. to retire? Come on, man. Really, they're 35, and do we really have anything in the tank?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, they're still chasing that one last check, and they know that MLS and I guess Turkey to some extent, those are the places where you see older footballers going to try to make those last few $1 billion. And if you're an Englishman, going to Los Angeles to hang out for a few years isn't the worst idea. I mean, I feel like David Beckham kind of set that mode. And MLS in particular, they're trying to get away from being a league that's only known as getting older stars to come as a retirement home. So this doesn't exactly help their cause, but as much as Frank Lampard and Steven Gerrard, as much as they're old, and especially with Lampard going back to Manchester City, I think we're also forgetting about players like David Villa, who could definitely be on, almost any team in the world right now, except for maybe like Barcelona or Real, of course. But he was a Champions League quality striker last year, and now he's playing in MLS. So I think when you get more players like David Villa, who aren't quite yet washed up, but maybe at the end of their prime, that's kind of what MLS wants to do. But in regards specifically to the Lampard situation and going back to Manchester City, I think that's a complete farce. It's legal and it's perfectly allowed, but I think it makes MLS look bad and it makes NYCFC look very weak, in my opinion.
If you spent money on season tickets, everybody knows how much season tickets cost. And, knowing that this guy was going to be there, it's kind of messed up, that they would do that.
I think that also puts on pressure to NYCFC now to get a third designated player. So I think they a spot for it, and they can afford to. So they need to get in a third
James
superstar
Milner.
now.
Didn't they just sign an Ecuadorian defender?
I don't know who they
I just read a report on it. They signed an Ecuadorian international defender that was
Oh,
playing
really?
for the Ecuadorian national team.
Okay.
I don't know what his
Okay, James Milner, who's
It's not
actually
Lampard,
scoring
but
for Manchester City. I mean, right now Manchester City has nobody up front. They got everybody's injured. So they have James Milner up front. He's actually scoring goals. It's nuts, you know.
Lampard's scoring goals too. I think he scored like 5 goals so far. You know, just getting 10, 20 minutes off the bench, that's pretty impressive to me.
Yeah, it is really impressive, and it shows you what like Mourinho was maybe wrong about him. Maybe coming off the bench could have been a good thing. You know, like you said, like 10 minutes in or at the end of the match, bring in somebody like Lampard. You don't have to play him every time, but you know, it's something that the team needed. You know, and it's every once in a while you can't do the Cesc thing. Cesc has you got to arrest him. What do you think about that? This guy's a big Mourinho fan. So what's Mourinho thinking right there? Why do you get rid of Lampard?
Well, I would say that probably age was a real factor.
Get out of here.
35 years of age. You know, it's Mourinho. Once Mourinho really, once he sees in a player, a top player, he did it with Eto'o, he did it with Ibrahimovic. Once he sees that's all that player can get for the team, then he will part ways with him at a minute's notice. On top of that, I think going back to the Lampard case, I actually watched David Beckham's first game here in New York for the LA Galaxy, and I'll tell you that there were talk that he would be injured or not able to attend, and everyone was so high that when they seen his name in the starting lineup, there was some sort of a relief throughout the stadium. And this is a stadium which holds up to 80,000 people, and it was sold out that day.
Right.
So you know, I really feel that, and they're setting a bad standard here. Here's a New York City FC club in their debut season. Now, just because Yaya Toure is going to the African Nations Cup, does really Man City need? What sort of consideration do they have for New York City FC team? They take the easiest option and hold Frank Lampard. I think that they can afford to buy another player out there, go in the transfer market and loan another player. So,
third-party ownership, which FIFA has outlawed now,
Yeah.
and it's a big deal. Pretty much what happened with Carlos Tevez, Mascherano, a couple other big names that were owned by agents. So even Falcao, what happened with Falcao and James Rodriguez, that's a huge deal right now because FIFA said no more. That's it. No more shadow agents. So if a club owns a player, it's their player. It's not like what was going on with third-party ownership was like. For example, in Atletico Madrid's case, Falcao wasn't really Atletico Madrid's player in a way because the agent was making the moves for him. So that's why he's bouncing up and down like a jumping beast from Atletico Madrid, Monaco. Now he's in Manchester United. So Justin, what's up with that? What do you think about that going down and now it's being pretty much outlawed by FIFA?
I think it's a good thing. For a long time, I feel like football agents have kind of, especially shady ones, have kind of, I don't know, put like a low-key black eye on the game. Especially with agents' fees being so inflated these days, and the fact that to get a transfer done, you have to go through a player's agent, then you have to go through an an in-between agent to make sure that there's no like improper tampering or conduct. And then you throw in third-party ownership, and it just makes transfers, all the more confusing. And it's all done really without the player's best interest in mind. It's just for these guys to make money off the players' names. So anything that gets rid of that shadiness within the business, I'm all for.
Jason, what do you think? Like, is this good for the sport? I mean, what's going to happen now is like the Brazilian league has a lot of money because of what's going on over there. So they're going to have people to pay these players as much. So maybe some of these Argentinian players that go to the Brazilian league to make some money, they're going to have to go back. Somebody like D'Alessandro, somebody of quality, they may have to go back to the Argentinian league or to Europe. What's going to happen?
I think it's just good in general. I think it's too fishy how they manipulate things, and teams sometimes end up with too much power and things like that. It's better. One of the reasons the Argentinian league has collapsed is because of the fact that all the talent's legal. Argentina's league used to be way better than Brazilian league 10 years ago, and now we can barely compete with them. So I'm not saying it's completely based on that. It's also economics and everything. I think in general, I don't know the whole schematics. I just think it's good. I don't see anything wrong with it. I don't see anything bad about it.
Ellis?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think it's overdue, to be exact. I remember the time where Tevez and Mascherano were forced to play for West Ham. I don't think these top quality
Probably
players
you heard of West Ham.
would have. So here they are, and they're asking questions about West Ham, and they had no knowledge of their history or of their team lineup, but they were forced by Jaropian at that time, who owned the rights to the players, to go to West Ham, and then from there on, that these players are, as you said, they're being shipped to different clubs in different countries just to make that transfer fee, just to make that agency, even though it's against their best interest and against what that player really wants to play for. So I think it's a great decision.
And I feel like the Neymar situation really exposed some of this too, because we had like his dad owning a third of his rights and his agent owning some of his rights, and
It was crazy.
it was a mess about how Barcelona ended up paying out all these people. I think like the transfer fee when it was first reported was only like 20 to 30 million euro, but we all know it ended up being way more than that because of all the fees that were paid out to Neymar's dad, Neymar's agent, all these other different little family members got
Kind of like
their
the end
share.
of the movie where like the balance gets transferred to the Swiss account, it kept going up. It's crazy. It was, you don't even know when who's getting what right there. So it's good to get all that information out. Justin, we could go on for another hour, but we want to play some FIFA. Actually, we want to go do something. Shout out to Jeremy Lin in the back. Love you guys.
Shout out to Jay Lynn and the Knicks, worst team in basketball.
He had the best two weeks in ever in the world. He's the god just for that. And
Insanity.
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 How much you pay for that? Like $10 at Walgreens?
It was like $16.75, which is the price. That's like the year Harvard was founded, so that's how much they reduced it to.
That's beautiful. Shout out to Daniel Niari, who the artist who did this print, the Playmakers, which I'm going to make it bigger next show. It's
Good stuff.
beautiful. There's no Boca Juniors players.
That's
Francisco right here. John Cruyff, your dad's favorite. Thank you for joining us, Justin.